Doesn't it seem like just yesterday, like Jon was like the young Red Sox prospect? Now you're at the end of this journey with the Cubs. Maybe not the end, but 6 years.
Yeah.
Is it crazy being back in spring, like having gone through all this? Does it feel weird to be at this point of the journey?
For sure. I mean, now like Zoe's gone. We got a bunch of older guys that have left now or retired or whatever, and now I'm like the oldest guy in camp, and it's like I'm like, this ain't it. I don't love this.
It happens overnight though, right? Like you go from like the young guy, and then you're in the middle, and then all of a sudden one guy leaves, and then you're the oldest guy there.
I mean, it was nice. Like I had Rossi, Lack, and then Zoe, and then now it's like, damn, okay, I'm the oldest. But it's cool, man. Like I feel like I've kind of morphed into that guy now. So it's been cool to be a part of.
You know what that's like.
I do. It's funny just because I like watched myself turn into Andy Pettitte. You know what I'm saying? Like that old guy that everybody comes to for like everything. So yeah, I mean, it's an honor, to be able to play this long and obviously to be a leader and have people respect you like that. I mean, it feels great for sure.
Do you actually like, Jon, when you're at this point and you've done a lot of things in this game. We know you have, 3 World Series championships. You've been an All-Star 5 times, I believe. I mean, so there's cachet there. Do you then like recognize I have to be the one who kind of takes these guys aside, not just because of age, but because I've seen things in this game. I have to have these conversations. I have to initiate with these young guys. Do you feel that kind of weight or responsibility?
More so with the pitchers. I don't know how it was with you, and like I kind of try to stay with my guys. Like those 4 other guys to me are gold, and then you got the bullpen guys, but. I got a few of the position players, but I try not to step across that line of, hey, man, these guys are doing something really hard. They play every single day, and to watch them grind and do that sort of thing. So I try to pick my spots, and I try to do it to the guys that I know can handle it if I do get onto them a little hard. Like Riz is my guy, and he's kind of the captain of the team, more or less, So if something's going on, you make a point to go after Riz, and everybody else is kind of like, oh, okay, like let's get our shit together, you know. So, I think as a pitcher, you walk that line of, okay, I've earned some things, but at the same time, I have to respect still what these guys do by playing every day.
How did that feel, dropping your first curse on R2C2? Felt pretty good, right?
It felt all right. I've been known to do it in Chicago a few times, so it's usually after some bad starts. But.
Yeah, exactly. No, see, did you? I don't know if I ever asked you. Did you interact like at all in that role with position players as well?
No, I was the same way. Like I would always go to Gardy. Like if something I didn't like or I seen something, or even if I had to, because me and Gardy have a great relationship. Even if I was messing around. And I'd be like, yo, Gardy, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like everybody else would kind of feel that I'm not really talking to him, I'm talking to y'all.
Yeah.
So, but as a pitcher, that's why I always say it's hard for pitchers to be managers. We don't know what it's like to play every day. Like, that's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, for us, that's a blessing. We go out there every fourth or fifth day and
crush Netflix the other day.
Exactly. So it's hard, to get prepared to play a baseball game every day, and we don't know what that's like. So it's hard to get on somebody when you don't understand what's going on.
This is like a cliche thing, but just you saying that kind of reminds me of, we always say like, or we hear starting pitchers just kind of refer to like, oh, those 4 days in between after you have a bad start are just brutal. But like, Jon, how awful is it? Like
miserable.
Is it really? Yeah. How do you like kind of get through that? How do you mentally deal with those 4 days?
For me, I'm so routine oriented that like I just dive into that even more. Like the day one just gets longer. It's like instead of 2 or 3 sets, you're doing 3 or 4 sets. Like you're just trying to pass time to get to 7 o'clock. Then it's like, okay, I can just sit here and marinate it some more, and then the next day, same thing. So, especially, man, like a bad one, 2-3 innings, and you just get, and like the bullpen guys too. I can't even look them in the eye. I'm like, sorry, you had to wear those 3 innings there. Like, I've gotten older. I had one. Was it last year before? I think I went like 2 innings, and it was the kid that got called up. He wore it. He threw like 4 innings. In one of those deals, I forgot what I got. I had my wife call somebody and get like what he likes, like whiskey or wine or something like that. So I got him a nice bottle of that, like, hey, dude, because he went As soon as the game's out, it was
right
like,
back.
Nice job.
You already know.
So I was like, okay, I owe this kid something, because otherwise, if I go normal start, he's still with us for a couple more days, but we needed that extra arm. So I was like, damn, sorry, dude.
That's always the hardest. I always tell myself, like, just try to kick myself in the butt. Like, don't like think about it. Like, you're gonna drive yourself nuts. Like, just when it gets closer to the next start, then you can start worrying about it. But like those first 2 days after a horrible start, I would like literally make myself not think about the game.
Yeah.
Just because I would go insane, man.
And you watched enough shows that you could do that. Isolate yourself with Narcos or Peaky Blinders or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But is that common? Like, if you have a start like that where you burn out the bullpen, like where you do something, especially for a young guy, you do something nice for them?
No, that's not really common. I just, I felt
just
so
felt
bad.
so
I was about to say, this is one of the best teammates I ever heard, because I ain't never did that.
I said it was like me walking out for 7 o'clock and he's walking in, and then walking in and he's back on the plane to AAA. So it was one of those kind of special circumstances.
Yeah,
I just was like, dude, I'm sorry, I got to take care of you on something.
No, I love that. How about, Jon, you have talked about diminished velocity over the last, couple years, and that's something you dealt with. See, like, did you go through any period of time where you were like denying it, and like, oh, now I realize I have to pitch a different way? Like, has there been any lag time, or did you kind of know right away, hey, I'm going to have to do things a little differently if I'm going to get people out?
Oh, I mean, it's easy. I mean, you just turn around and see it on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, the 93s started clicking down, quickly. It's just something like I've seen other guys, like I've obviously competed against him for a long time, and then guys like Beckett, Schill at an early age where I saw them convert to this different pitcher. So like I saw it early and I knew it was coming. It's just a matter of, okay, now how do I think there's a fine line of how you convert, but also still being hard-headed enough to go, okay, this is my strength. You threw gas back in the day, and it was, I'm coming middle in, I don't care who you are, and then I'm throwing my slider off that. I think I don't care if it's 90, 91, there's still that mentality of I'm CC or I'm mean. I'm coming at you.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to put you on your heels. You're not going to dictate what I'm doing. And I think I got away from that. And now I'm trying to get back into that. A little more tempo, a little more kind of, I'm putting you on your heels. If I give up a solo homer early, hopefully my guys score 2. Like that's kind of what I'm looking at is I'm coming after you to where you come back to the dugout and go, okay, he's coming in. Like, now, if I can get that hip just to go a little bit, now I can go back away a little bit more. Instead of just going away. Now I'm ball 3. I got to try to come in, and now I'm walking a guy. Now it's a homer. Now it's 2 or 3 run homer. So, especially with the balls, hopefully the balls are back to somewhere.
The balls are back in the playoffs though, so hopefully they keep those balls back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I think for him, like he can pitch.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was harder because I just threw hard. You know what I'm saying? So I think like him having the pitcher's mentality, it's easier for him to make that transition and, throwing the backdoor cutter and doing all those things, something that I had, it was foreign to me, and when he was even throwing hard, he was doing those things. So I think that makes it, easier for him to kind of make that transition. And I think the biggest thing you lose is your mentality, is that you're not yourself. But the hitters, they know what you've done, and no matter how hard you're throwing, it's still Jon Lester on the mound. They're still scared. You know what I'm saying? There's still some intimidation factor, and I think you have to find that again.
That's interesting, though, because I could see if you're all of a sudden so aware of like changing your stuff, does it change your aggression? Kind of like what you're saying. Like all of a sudden, because you're not maybe throwing necessarily as hard, you're now on your heels instead of them being on their heels. So I guess that takes just some mental work in the offseason then going into this year?
I think that, and just when you start nibbling, you start getting mechanical,
Okay.
And it's more of like, okay, I'm going to step here, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to place a ball there, I'm going to throw a little sinker down the way and do this, as opposed to just being aggressive. I think you get away with more when you're aggressive and you have good tempo and you're not mechanical and worried about things. So that's just something that we talked about at the end of the year last year, and I had a couple starts with that where I felt better. The results were better, compared to how I threw last year. So far this year.
But you can feel better about it.
Exactly.
Because you feel like more like yourself than you like trying to nibble and do different things where you like, if I could just be myself, maybe I have a different result.
And it's not necessarily like I have to be hard-headed in the fact of going in. It's just the aggression part of it is I'm coming at you more so than you can still throw the same pitches. It's just that aggressiveness, that assertiveness going down the mound.
Yeah.
When you start nibbling, they know. I mean, they can sense that you're not feeling it and you're just doing this and this, and then they just wait you out. And then you're looking at 4 innings of 80, 90 pitches and you're out of the game.
I mean, what's it like? You went through this too, C, and John, you went through it a little last year. Like when you're at the top of the game, and you're so consistent year in and year out, and then you have a year where you struggle. Like, how did you? I guess maybe your 5th year with the Yankees was kind of that time for you. Like, how jolting is that when you're not used to that?
Yeah, I mean, no, that's tough. And like I was just thinking, it took me a couple of years to get back to being myself, like back to the aggression, like. Even though I'm throwing a cutter 89 miles an hour, I'm throwing it like I'm throwing 97.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I have the same conviction. I had the same feeling. I still got the same fuck you on the map. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it took me, I feel like I transitioned in 2015. And not until the beginning of 17 did I feel like, okay, I'm back out here now. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was rough. And you're just trying to figure stuff out. And I would go games where I would throw my cutter for 3 innings and I'd be going good. And I'm like, nah, let me go back to my 4-seamer. Bow, bow, bow. And then there's 7 runs in 1 inning. I'm like, what just happened? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I was stubborn too. So, it took me a longer time because I was so stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John, how about you? Like, is it like, I mean, you've been so good for so long. When you have a year where you struggle, is it kind of like it's bound to happen. This is baseball. Failure is intermittent failure, at least is part of this ridiculously difficult game? Or does it actually like jolt you a little bit more than that?
I think it jolts you. I mean, I think especially when you're younger, it jolts you because it's like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
And then when you get older, I don't want to say like last year sucked. I don't want to say like, okay, it can happen.
Yeah.
Because I think that's giving in to getting older. I think there's some things within that season that I could have corrected earlier to maybe have a little bit better season, and we didn't do that, and I got away from myself and the coaches and all that. So I feel like it's kind of that motivator. You know, like I'd like to think that I motivate myself. I don't want external things to motivate me.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's a definite shot in the jaw when you don't have a good year. You feel like you let your teammates down, and maybe I could have pitched better in a 4 or 5 game stretch to maybe get us into the postseason. Who knows? So yeah, I mean, you kind of think about it a little bit, but then you go into the offseason, you just try to regroup, and come back and do it again.
I feel like your 2016 title, that was like one of those cases where everybody's rooting for the same thing, right? Like everybody wanted to see the Cubs finally get their championship. When you think back on it now, is there a particular story or moment or memory that still like shines brightest from that run and from being able to achieve that?
I think, man, 16 reminded me a lot of like just the guys in 13. Like we had guys in 13 that first day of camp walked in and goes, guys, pick out your duck boat because we're going to win this year. Like it was just the mentality from day one. It was just one day after another. People talked about it. And Johnny Gomes said one day, he goes, you can't do something if you don't talk about it. So like that was just like a theme that year. In 16, it was that way. Like I felt guys would just talk about it. They'd be like, hey, they'd ask Rossi, they'd ask me, or they ask Lack, like Zoe, like what's it like to win a World Series? And you would see their eyes get bright, and then they started talking about it. Mm-hmm. And so when the season to me was a blur, and then when we got to the postseason, it's like you can remember every single game and like what happened, and they just kept talking about it more. And they're like, hey guys, we're this many wins away. They were this many wins away. But then they also had the same of, okay, we talked about this many wins away, but tonight we're going to win this game. It was like it was cool. Like it was almost just one of those deals where guys just knew this was going to happen and nobody was going to get in our way.
Yeah.
What about like the rain delay in Game 7? Like right at the end of the game, because I was like, what? I was into the game and it was like a rain delay. I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine being in a rain delay during Game 7. Like
it was
at
actually
the
good.
End of the game.
It was good though. It was so good for us because, bro, I came in after I pitched and I came in like the middle of the Rajay at bat and I couldn't watch anymore. I'm like going nuts. So I was screw it. I came inside and I look around and Willie's got all the stuff up. 2016 World Series champion.
Oh, yeah.
And I walk in, I just stop and I look. I'm like, this ain't good. And I just sat down. I'm like, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm take one shoe off, put it off to the side. I'm looking, I take another shoe. I mean, as soon as I look down, you hear it just whack. And before the ball was even out, I was yelling at Willie. I'm like, get this shit down immediately. I threw my shoe across the room like a little temper tantrum. And so like that happened. But then now, you know, like when you're done pitching, you're like, what do I do? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's so nerve-wracking.
So
the playoffs are more nerve-wracking when you're not pitching than when you're out there.
When you're out there, it's like, okay, I actually have control of what's going on, hopefully. And then when you're done, it's like, we're really bringing this guy in? When he's been like your stud all year, like we're bringing this guy in. And Borzy, our guy, where he's like, no, we got this. I'm like, okay. And I was just pacing. And he'd throw a bad pitch and I'd go down in the tunnel and come back up. And just, like we get it out or whatever. And then finally, like it was so fast from the time Rajay hit that home run to the rain delay that I couldn't tell you what happened in that time. You know, I do remember watching it again that the biggest thing was Chap came out and threw the next inning.
Yes.
Like people forget that.
Yeah.
Now that's a significant blow, and that Joker ran back out there and got 3 more outs for us.
Yeah.
So that was huge. And then we have this rain delay, and everybody comes in, and you could just see like the players needed a minute. Just get away. We went into the weight room down there, and Jay Hay spoke, which he didn't really talk that much that year. You know, he was still trying to find his place a little bit. And when he spoke, it was kind of like, oh, everybody just stopped and listened. And then Schwarber stood up, and he was leading off the inning. He goes, I'm going to get a hit. Y'all drive me in. Sure as shit. He hits a ball to right field. Knock, gets on first. We pinch run for him, and then, you know, we ended up scoring a couple runs. So, but yeah, we needed that. You know,
that's crazy.
That extra.
That's a great story.
That extra in the corner with a drink of water. You know, sit down, control ourselves.
Oh, I'll be going nuts.
What do you remember the content of what Jason Hayward said when he brought you guys together there before the start of extra innings?
Not really. I mean, it was more or less like, hey guys, this that sucked, but it's still ours. Like it's ours to take right now. Like we're coming up this inning. This is a new game. I think it was the 10th or the 11th. Can't remember, but it was like, this is it. This is our inning. We're going to do this. And then, you know, Schwarber stood up and said that. And then it was kind of like, all right, we got this, you know.
That's crazy. That was a classic World Series, though.
Oh, so
good.
And it was a good series for me. Like, as a fan, I hadn't watched the World Series in a long time, but like it was you and Dex and, you know, Rizzo and Rossi. But then on the other side, it was like Cleveland for me. You know what I'm saying? I know how much it means to that city. So, like, I actually watched the World Series for the first time in a long time that year. That was cool.
Oh, that was such a great series. It was amazing. I mean, how about like, you know, for stories that can be shared on air, John, like after you guys win, what were some of the like funnier things or more interesting happenings either that you saw in the city or amongst the celebrations with you guys? Because I mean, winning a championship, I'm sure always has those elements, but this was a different championship. You know, this was next level. For
me, like when we won, we had another rainstorm come in, so like we didn't have a place to get away from anybody. Everybody was in the clubhouse. After 108 years, there's 108,000 reporters that want to be in there to capture every little moment. So, you know, you're trying to just grab a beer and you can't get a beer, you can't get champagne or whatever. So that was kind of crazy. Like I didn't love that part about it, but getting home on no sleep, you know, it just flying in and then doing the parade, and the parade lasted forever with millions of people, man. Like that's the part that I remember more than really anything. Like just from the start to the end, it was just deafening the entire time. You know, like cool. It was cool. It was awesome. You always say about like the parade, man, just you were chasing the parade, right? After you experience it.
That's all like, you want.
Yeah. It's just like, it's a unique, I mean, it's interesting to see, like, you know, the effect you have on fans, right? But like, that's the one time where you see that many in one place, right? Because otherwise, yeah, you're seeing a full sold out stadium, but that's whatever it is, 50,000 people, right? Like, or if you're at Wrigley, it's what, 35 or whatever it is. You know, when you see that many million people, you're like, yo, this means a lot to a lot of people. It's got to be a crazy feeling because you know it, but to see it has to be a little, right?
And you've won at like some iconic places too.
Yeah,
Boston
man.
and Chicago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like those are forever.
Yeah.
Like people forget about like no disrespect, but 2005 White Sox. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, yo, pretty much erase that. Right?
Hey, those White Sox fans don't feel that way, man. They waited a long ass time, too. They waited a long. Tim Anderson's coming in here a little bit. He's going to have something to say about that. But it's true. I mean, you're part of some cities that, like, I mean, now is it true, though, the whole, like, oh, you never have to buy a meal or drink in this city again? I mean, is it true?
No, I mean, you still got to pay for some stuff.
So for
that first off season, though, you don't pay for shit. That first one is everybody want to party,
and you don't sleep that whole off season.
Right? That's always interesting seeing like the post, even like Andy Reid after the Super Bowl. He's like, yeah, I haven't slept in 3 days.
Nah, you know what it was? It wasn't. I was fine until opening day the next year. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait, it's baseball season again? Like, do you want me to do this all over again? Like, I'm still partying from 09.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's hard. I mean, that's a hard way to do it. John, when you think about your career, and like sometimes we like to get into this stuff, and like, is there a particular coach or someone who gave you guidance like from a young age or at some transitional point in your career and formative years where you say, wow, if like I hadn't learned that lesson, if they hadn't taught me that, I didn't have their guidance, I would have never gotten to this point?
Yeah. I got two coaches, Tito and then John Farrell. You know, I got called up in 2006, and Al Nipper, who I had as my A-ball coach, was my pitching coach that year. And I think that helped me just with the transition of going from the minor leagues to the big leagues. I had a friendly face, you know, like I had somebody I could go to. But Tito, for sure, with everything I went through with cancer and all that, like he made sure that the media didn't bother me or my family. Like he took us under his wing and really, whether I liked it or not, you know, especially when I got back to spring training, I wanted to be treated normal. Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't do that, you know, like, hey, we're going to do this and whatever. But yeah, I think those two guys for sure. John Farrell really implemented my routine to me, which was, you know, an extension of like Beckett. You know, Tito grabbed me one of the first days that we had him and said, you're going to follow him around and you're going to do what he does. And that's kind of how my whole routine started with that in 06 and 07. And then, you know, just talking every day with John Farrell about stuff just really helped me, I think, mature faster, you know, when I got there. Like I knew, and I think, you know, you've seen young guys come up in New York, like either you're ready or you're not. Mm-hmm. And they'll eat you up and spit you out in a hurry if you're not. And I think that's another, you know, if you want to add a third thing to that, that's you know, I knew I had to either shit or get off the pot, you know, for lack of a better term. Like either I perform or I'm gone. And I wanted to stay there, so I tried to do what I could.
Did you have Farrell as a pitching coach?
Coach.
And a manager?
And a manager, yeah. The manager part was a little different for me just because we didn't get to communicate as much as we did as a pitching coach. Every bullpen, we'd sit out there for 30 minutes and talk about the last start, the next start, what I'm doing in between, this, that, and the other. So when he became a manager, you don't have time for that, you know, and I was a different point in my career. So, but yeah, those two guys for sure were my guys.
John, when you go through beating cancer to winning a World Series, you know, we hear a lot of times when people go through health things or loss, you know, they'll say like, it changed my perspective. You know, it made me, whatever, smell the roses more, whatever it might be. Was there any sort of like tangible change for you after getting through that to your daily perspective or how you go through a season?
I think that, I mean, I think everybody always says like, yeah, it changes your, like you said, your perspective on things. I think for me, it made me pay attention to my routine even more. Like, okay, I don't want to screw this up now. Like, I've been given a second chance and I want to make sure that I'm going to do, if it doesn't work out, I've put everything I can into it. Mm-hmm. And if I can walk away and go, hey, it just didn't work out, that's fine. And then, you know, ended up, because I think of that, I think it put me in that, okay, I've got to do this to prepare for this day. And I just try to take one day at a time, you know, and plug along. And I think anytime I get into like these ruts, I just dive back into that, you know, and that really helps me. Yeah.
You know, you're talking about your different coaches and managers. You know, go.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, just, you know, we'll just go shoulder to shoulder here. You talking about your different coaches and managers. You both have experienced now what you're experiencing or you're about to, which is having a teammate become your manager. Yeah, and I mean, it is particularly unique. Now, C had a really good relationship with Aaron Boone, was a friend playing with him in Cleveland, and you obviously, I mean, David Ross is your guy behind the plate, and now he's going to be your manager. see any advice for Jon on how this could be
No, I
different?
mean, it's just gonna be fun. Like your boy's your manager. Like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think. Obviously, players are gonna look to you to ask questions of how he is or different things like that. But it's gonna be great, man. You got to be excited, right? Is he excited?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the thing I love is just what people don't or didn't see with him as a catcher is just how much energy he brought to the day he caught. You know, and I got to experience that every 5 days, and I think that made me better. And I think it's going to make our team better, just because every day he walks into a room and you know he's there. There's no getting around it. You know, he's going to make himself known, whether he's working for ESPN or he's the backup catcher or he's your manager. It don't matter. He's walking in that door and Rossi's here. You know, you know.
Yeah.
So like today, the last 2 days he's been sick. He's been out with the flu. And I said, perfect, man. You're coming back for the biggest day of the year tomorrow when I'm pitching. He said he was going to tell the media that he only has to show up every 5 days when I pitch. That was part of the contract. So, but yeah, man, it's cool. Like it's your buddy. But I mean, at the same time, he's already broke that. He's already gone on to me about something, you know. So like, he can
get on to you, and it's not personal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the Booney would always get on me about shit. Like, what are you doing? This, that. You got it. Like so, and I never took it personal. I just knew I had to do better. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not coming from a bad spot.
No.
And was the relationship preserved through that?
I think it got stronger. I think me and Booney are closer now than we ever been.
Wow, that's really interesting because, you do hear sometimes, like I know, and they didn't necessarily have the same relationships that you have with David or that you had with Aaron, but like you would hear like it was odd for, let's say, the core four guys to be managed by Joe Girardi after they won championships.
That was a different situation.
Yes, I agree. And they weren't necessarily all, best friend. I'm not saying they had a bad relationship. That's not what I'm implying, but it's a little different than maybe the connections you already had. But you don't know sometimes if somebody transitions to a different role, what that would be. So that's actually, I don't know, makes my heart happy to hear that. That you and Booney are in a better place than ever before.
Yeah, and I think these two will too, just because of their relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's only going to get stronger, and he's going to lean on you for a lot. And
that was the cool part for me this offseason is we probably talked more than we ever had in any other offseason because, I'd had questions for him like, hey, what are you going to do? Hey, in spring training, can we leave early? We're going to stay those 5 innings. What do you got? Hey, what's our dress code on the road? Like, what are we doing? So
see that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
and he'd ask me, well, what do you want? Like, do you want to stay for those 5 innings? I'm like, well, I think there should be like a tier system where if it's one of your dudes, you need to come watch a couple innings and then you can bounce. Or, if you've got your 9 guys starting, then okay, like I'll be there. You tell me when to leave then. But he's been good with it, man. Like it's been awesome to listen to him and just his truthfulness. I know that when he speaks to guys, it's all truth. There's no BS. Like, hey, this is what we expect of you, and this is what we want you to do, and it's up to you to go do it. And if you don't do it, you're not going to make the team. And at least guys know where they're at. You know? So there's no gray area, which I think even as you get older and you have a resume or you're that middle tier guy, or you're a beginning guy, you need to have something, a path to follow. You know, like,
that's all players want.
That's all
it's
you
just
want.
an honest path. If I do this, then I'll make the team. If I don't, then I won't.
No.
And most of the time, that never happens.
Yeah, Jon. Recently, you had some strong comments about how the commissioner referred to the World Series trophy, the Commissioner's Trophy, and what's been interesting to observe with this Astro stuff, and we were talking about this a little bit just earlier today. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen players be this vocal about, I mean, in your case, that was about the commissioner, but about other players as well. What do you think it is about the Astros issue that has sort of almost like freed the voice of baseball players, it feels like?
I think for me, it's just kind of the lack of sincerity. Like we've all been a part of teams where stuff has happened and you have to issue a statement.
Yeah.
That was just too much of a statement. Like if you'd have stood up on the podium and said, I'm sorry, we screwed up, and just been a little bit more
contrite.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. It just didn't, I don't think it sat well with players.
Yeah.
I think guys could have pushed it aside if they were respectful about it. It just didn't seem, it almost seemed like we got caught, but we're going to still do it.
They almost went on the offensive.
Yeah.
Like, what? No, you fucking cheated and won the World Series. Like, this has never happened before. Like, you cannot be mad at us for being mad at you guys. Like, that just makes no sense. It's crazy.
I think there's still a lot of gray area, You know, like there's still answers that haven't been answered, you know? So like we've talked about it in the clubhouse and stuff. Like, okay, if you took technology to that level, like it was bound to happen with somebody.
Yeah.
If you're allowed technology, you're going to see how far it can take you. I don't think people are mad about that. I think we're mad that, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but there's still this out in the open. Did you guys have buzzers? Did you not? Like,
they don't, and they won't answer.
Yeah, and
you know what I'm
that's
saying? And the commissioner won't answer.
Yeah, and
Nobody
see,
will
that's
answer.
where-
They don't care. Like,
Do you guys have a hunt? Do you think they did?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, like,
But-
I mean,
but
I
just-
think anything that you dive deep is conspiracy theory. You know, anything you
right.
dive deep enough into, you can look at and go, oh, you see this?
Yes.
You know, like
yes.
the Altuve thing with don't rip my jersey. Like, yeah, I mean, could he had a bad tattoo? I don't know. Like, I don't know.
yeah, but it's like, it's crazy.
I mean, but there is stuff going there that makes them look guilty. I don't know. And that's
Right.
where I'm like, I'm to the point, and that's what I tried to do in spring training is be like, listen, guys, like I got my ass kicked there last year. It's not going to get my 7 runs and 4 innings back. Like,
Yeah.
did they hit trash cans? I don't know, but you can't get anything back. Would it be nice for the Dodgers to have that World Series trophy? Yeah, for sure. But
I don't even think they would want it. And for me, I don't think anybody wants the trophy. I just don't want them to fucking have it because they don't care that they cheated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, I just don't want them to have it. So it is what it is.
I think too, what really rubs people the wrong way is the owner comes out and says that he doesn't feel it affected games.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other part. Now you got now you got the scripted apologies, and then you got them come on the offensive about things. It's just there's some things that are happening that just doesn't seem like they care.
Right. And they're an incredibly cocky group too, and that does not help. You know, I mean, they've carried themselves that way always, and they're talented. But
very talented.
But when you know they cheated, it makes that cockiness feel a little different. You know,
it's just it's a weird time for baseball, to be honest. I mean, stuff always happens in the game, like you said. Like shit happens. Like you take technology, put it in the game, somebody's gonna go too far, but. This one just seems, I don't know. Maybe because I was involved. Like, I feel like I was involved.
Yeah, because of 2017.
Yeah, so maybe, you know, it's just a little harder for me to get over then.
But to your point, too, and yours as well about, like, the apology, it's like, if you go up there and you say, hey, honestly, like, we all had access to this technology, and all of a sudden, you know, we're trying to push the boundaries, and we pushed it too far. And once we started, we couldn't pull ourselves out, and we shouldn't have done that. Like that clearly was wrong. And now forever in our minds, when we think about our championship, we're going to wonder what would have happened if we didn't have this. Then you'd be like, okay.
I don't think they need to say that. I think like to along with the same lines what you said is, hey, listen, we had this technology in front of us. We wanted to see how far we could take it.
Yeah.
And we took it too far. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
just something. Just not stand up there and read off the teleprompter. What the PR guy wrote for you.
Yeah, I know. John, do you think, and you know, you'll have a ball in your hand this year. I don't know. Do you guys play Houston? No. Okay. So it won't actually happen for you.
Nah, guys ain't going to throw it.
You don't think they'll throw it
No.
up?
I don't, because the way baseball is now, I mean, that one game that you do that, you know, that one game that you take into your hands and I'm going to throw at I'm going to hit guys until I get thrown out. You lose that game, now you miss the playoffs by 1.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you're suspended and you lose whatever and you can't go to arbitration. You know what I'm saying? Like just little shit. It's all it goes back onto the pitcher. So there's no point in taking stuff into your own hands.
I got to ask, you guys both played with Manny. And CeCe has told some funny, just like Manny thought CeCe spoke Spanish for how long? Like,
yeah. He thought I spoke Spanish for like 2 years.
CeCe's not answering him. He has no idea why. What was it like, you know, as you're starting your career, having Manny Ramirez in your clubhouse?
Man, I'll tell you, the only time I saw him was when he hit and played left field.
Because he was in the video room the whole time, right?
He was in the video room, or he's in the training room, or he's in his lot. Like, you never saw him until he played. I think what people don't, I'll tell a good Manny story.
Yeah, that's what we like here at R2C2.
A positive Manny story. I think what people didn't see is like how hard he worked. You know, he would come into the field at 10, get his stuff, his weightlifting and stuff like that done. He would watch every relief pitcher that was on the roster that night. And so there was no, hey, they brought in this guy, and they would go to the hitting coach and he would lay out a deal in front of him. He knew what he was doing. So I think people didn't see that, didn't understand, like he actually put the time in, even though half the time he didn't know, if it was a 7 o'clock game or a 1 o'clock game. But yeah, I mean, he just the way he approached the game, the way he hit. I mean, stories about him sitting on pitches and waiting 3 at bats to get it.
Oh no, he did that to me.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
He did it to Musina in New York one time.
Really?
Yeah,
so
when I was young.
He'd let at bats go by, knowing I'm.
He let you get him out twice.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Or until a bit, like if it's second at bat, if there's second and third and you're down by 1, he's not going to let you get him out. Like he's going to sit on that pitch, he's going to get it. And Musina struck him out. I can't remember if it was a cutter or curveball or something. Curveball.
I remember that.
Yeah, struck him out on something, and then in Fenway in a big situation, struck him out looking. And we went to Yankee Stadium later that year, and he told David, he said, "I'm gonna sit on that curveball the whole game."
Wow.
And he got it his third at bat with guys on second and third, hit a homer.
Jeez.
So like he'll let you punch him out twice,
yeah,
or look stupid twice, but then that third at bat or that big situation, he'll make you pay.
He did that to me with the slider. Got him out with the slider, his first at bat, and then I walked him the next time on a fastball, and then I came back, runners on first and second, we in Fenway, and I threw him first pitch slider. And I don't even know where that ball landed. I don't even think it's landed yet. Like he was like, and every time I'm like, I know what he's doing, but it's just hard in the middle of the game because that's your best pitch, and you got to try to get him out with it. But there's no way to get him out.
John, one of the things we've seen as a common theme, and something C talks about a lot, is like how like people always think like, oh, free agency's awesome, whatever, and then like you get to it and you're like, oh, this is like super
miserable.
stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, you signed a huge contract going, well, at the time I guess you had been traded to Oakland, so going from Oakland to Chicago, but really, from Boston to Chicago.
Yeah.
What was like? Was it not an enjoyable process for you either, like going through that?
No, because I'm like kind of the theme I've been talking. Like I'm so structured on what.
Yeah.
And that's what made it hard to, Boston kind of, I don't want to say forced me, but played my hand to Chicago for me, with some of the stuff that went on in free agency. And it's just like, this is like anything else, man. We're all human. So like the Dodgers come in and they're like, hey, we'll give you this. You're like, oh, man, I want to go to the Dodgers now.
yeah.
They'll do this. They'll do this for us, Like, and my wife's like, no, we're not going to LA. I'm like, okay, we're back to Chicago. And she's like, yeah, we're back to Chicago. And then San Francisco will come in. She's like, we're definitely not going there. So don't even think about it. I'm like, all right. No. So no, I mean, it's just like every day you're on the phone talking and you're trying to convince yourself that this is the right decision, especially leaving the one place I was at, and I know I got traded. And
did going to Oakland help a little bit though?
For sure.
Yeah.
Those
like knowing that you can play somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for me. Is like I don't know if I could put on another uniform, and then you put it on, you're like, oh damn, it's just baseball. Like I still got to do the same stuff and get people out. So that definitely helped me make that transition easier, knowing that I could go someplace else and play. And then obviously having Theo and those guys. I mean, basically the whole front office in Chicago is the old front office I had in Boston. So that made it so much easier.
What makes Theo so good at what he does?
I think for me, it was just the relationship that we had. Like I had a prior relationship. Like my first contract, me and him finished the last little nitpicky stuff in my kitchen table in spring training. Like that meant a lot to me that time. And then coming to this and our big thing was like we didn't want reports leaked. We didn't want anything leaked, and somehow their report got leaked and he called us and apologized and, it was just like he made it real personable, and he made that, maybe he's just a good salesman. I don't know. But I think his guys, he tries to make that relationship mean something. I feel like, the guys that come in and fill spots, I don't know if he does that with, but his guys, he definitely makes it a point.
Yeah, and you had to be one of his guys coming from Boston too. I mean, that's kind of like my relationship with Shapiro. I wish I got a chance to play with him again. You know what I'm saying? If he's a free agent, if he was the GM somewhere where I would have 1,000% signed up for
really?
that. Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Interesting, man.
For sure.
John, thank you so much for being with us, man, here. These are special episodes of R2C2 we do with the Shift, courtesy of the MLB PA, and I know they just love getting to hear guys like you share their personalities. So thank you, man. We appreciate this.
It's been awesome.
Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, of course.